you're here to rest. Whatever kind of day you've had crowded with notifications, emails, errands, or just too much thinking, this next while is yours and yours alone. You don't need to focus, you don't need to remember anything, and you absolutely don't need to stay awake. You can just let my voice fade into the background as if it were distant rain on a wooden roof. Before we drift back in time together, take a moment to make this as easy as possible for your future sleepy self. If you find these slow, detailed journeys help you unwind, gently tap the like button so this video doesn't disappear into the algorithm fog. If you'd like more calm stories like this, quiet days, ordinary lives, gentle history, press subscribe and turn on the bell so new episodes are waiting for you on the nights you need them most. And if you know someone else whose mind won't switch off at bedtime, you can share this with them later. No rush, no pressure, just a quiet gift when you remember. Now you don't have to do anything more. The screen in front of you doesn't matter anymore. You can close your eyes, turn your face into the pillow, or let your gaze go soft and unfocused. Nothing visually important is going to happen. All the action in this story is slow and small. The scratch of a brush on paper, the creak of an old house, the sound of wooden sandals tapping along a dusty street, the kind of action that actually makes you sleepier with every minute. Tonight, we're going to spend a day with someone whose life is very different from yours, and yet strangely familiar. A low-ranking samurai in Edo-period Japan. Not the movie version with flashing blades and dramatic duels in the rain, but the real version, the one who spends most days quietly doing paperwork, walking the same streets, folding the same bedding, practicing the same sword cuts over and over again in a wooden hall that smells of sweat and pine. It's a life built out of small textures and repeated rituals. Ink ground slowly on a stone until the water turns perfectly black. Tatami mats that always feel the same beneath bare feet, cool, woven, faintly scented with dried grass. The weight of a cotton quilt in winter and the soft cling of a summer yukata in the heat. The gentle heaviness of miso soup, rice, grilled fish, and roasted tea at midday. The hot sting of bathhouse water on tired muscles after a long day. Nothing explodes in this story. No one shouts. There are no sudden twists. Just a human being living one very ordinary day in a world made of wood and paper, stone and straw, steel and steam. The kind of day that, from the outside, might look boring, but from the inside feels quietly complete. As you listen, you might notice how your own body starts to copy the rhythm of that slower world. The pace of your thoughts will begin to match the pace of a man tying his obi in the morning, smoothing the fabric down his chest. The tension in your shoulders may ease the way his does when he sinks into the hot water of the bathhouse at night. Your breath might naturally fall into step with his walk through the streets of Edo, steady, familiar, never in a hurry. If at any point you drift off, that's perfect. You're not missing anything. The story will keep walking on quietly without you, like a calm companion who doesn't mind that you closed your eyes. If you wake up later and see the video has ended or moved on, you can just smile, put it on again another night, and let a different part of the day carry you back down. For now, just let your jaw unclench, let your tongue relax from the roof of your mouth, let your shoulders sink a little deeper into whatever you're lying on. If you like, take one slow breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth, longer than it came in. You don't have to control your breathing after that. Your body knows what to do. We're going to travel far away in time without moving at all, away from glowing screens and traffic and messages, to a wooden town where the night is lit by oil lamps and paper lanterns, where a castle stands over narrow streets, where the roofs are tiled in gray clay, and the air smells of rice, straw, wood smoke, soy sauce, and earth after rain, where houses breathe and creak as the temperature changes, and the boundary between inside and outside is made of nothing thicker than a sheet of white paper in a wooden frame. In that town, in one of those houses, a man sleeps on a futon laid directly on the floor above woven tatami. He has 2 swords on a stand by the alcove, a writing desk by the wall, and a garden just outside his sliding doors. His life is made of duty and discipline, but also of small, private comforts. The first sip of hot tea at dawn, the feel of the garden's gravel under his sandals, the weight of a wooden practice sword in his hands, the heat of the public bath wrapping around him like a second skin. Tonight, you're not watching him from outside as a character in a film. Tonight, you are him. You will wake where he wakes, walk where he walks, sit where he sits, and feel what he feels, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, almost invisible way that matches the softest parts of your own life. The way your bed feels when you really notice it, the sound of your own house at night, the comfort of doing something you've done 1,000 times before. So, as you settle your head into your own pillow, imagine another pillow far away in time, a small, firm one filled with buckwheat husks. Imagine the gentle weight of a cotton quilt. Imagine a room made of wood and paper where the world outside is waiting on the other side of a thin, sliding door. That is where our samurai lies now. As you listen, your knight and his will overlap for a little while, and our story begins in the quietest possible way, in the deepest part of the night, at the softest edge between sleep and morning. The darkness in the room is not empty, but filled with a quiet, heavy presence that feels like a blanket woven from the night itself. You are drifting in the shallow waters of sleep, that comfortable space where dreams have faded, but the waking world has not yet demanded your attention. There is no urgency here. There is only the rhythm of your own breathing, a slow and steady tide that rises and falls within your chest, lifting the heavy cotton quilt just a fraction of an inch and then letting it settle back down again. In and out. In and out. The air in the room is cool, holding the stillness that only comes in the hours before the sun has fully committed to rising. It is a stillness that feels ancient, as if the air itself has been resting in the corners of this room for 100 years, waiting for this specific moment of peace. You become aware of the texture beneath you. The futon is not just a mattress, it is a landscape of familiarity. Your back knows every subtle dip and rise of the cotton batting, which has been compressed by nights of rest into a shape that fits you perfectly. Through the layers of the futon, you can faintly sense the tatami mats underneath. They offer a firm, supportive resistance, a grounding sensation that reminds you, even with your eyes closed, of where you are. You are close to the earth. You are held by the floor. There is a faint, dry scent of straw and rush grass that rises from the mats, a smell that is the very essence of the house. It is the smell of dried fields and summer sunshine, preserved and woven into the floor on which you sleep, grounding you in the seasons even when it is dark. Your eyes remain closed. There is no need to open them yet. To open them would be to admit the day has started, and right now there is still time to simply exist in the quiet. You listen. The silence of an Edo-period town is not a true silence, but a tapestry of very soft, very distant sounds. Far away, perhaps 3 streets over, a dog barks once, a muted, hollow sound that dissolves instantly into the mist. Closer, you hear the settling of the house itself. The wooden beams, which cooled during the long night, are beginning to anticipate the morning. A rafter creaks. It is a singular, wooden groan, low and gentle, like an old ship shifting in a calm harbor. Then silence returns, deeper than before. You hear the wind, or perhaps it is just the movement of air as the temperature changes outside. It brushes against the paper of the shoji screens. The sound is like a whisper, a dry rustle of paper vibrating in its wooden frame. The light is changing. You can feel it even through your eyelids. The deep, absolute black of the deep night is softening into a dark, charcoal gray. You finally allow your eyelids to part just a fraction. The room is swimming in shadows. The shoji screens, which serve as your window to the world, are glowing with the faintest luminescence. They are not white yet. They are a cool, pale blue-gray, the color of a river stone just before dawn. You watch the paper. It is not a solid sheet, but a landscape of fibers. If you look closely, letting your eyes adjust to the dimness, you can see the uneven texture of the washi paper, the swirls of mulberry fibers caught in the pulp, creating tiny variations in the opacity. Some spots let in a pinprick more light than others. You trace the grid of the wooden lattice with your eyes, vertical lines, horizontal lines. They are perfect, geometric, creating a sense of order that holds the room together. The wood of the lattice is dark, aged, contrasting with the pale paper. It is a view you have seen 1,000 times, yet this morning it feels like a painting created just for you. You shift your leg under the heavy quilt. The fabric rustles, a sound that seems loud in the quiet room. The quilt is heavy, filled with thick cotton batting, weighing down on your feet and shoulders in a way that makes you feel protected. The fabric against your chin is cool, while the air trapped beneath the covers is warm. You luxuriate in this contrast for a moment. The warmth of the bed, the coolness of the room, it is the simple physical pleasure of being sheltered. You take a deep breath, tasting the air. It tastes of old wood, of charcoal ash from the brazier that burned down hours ago, and of the faint, clean scent of the tatami. It is a dry, clean smell. Slowly, you decide to move. There is no rush. A samurai does not move with frantic haste in the morning. You peel the quilt back. The cool air touches your neck, then your chest, waking the skin. You sit up. The movement is slow, a hinge unfolding. You rest your hands on your knees. Your yukata, the sleeping kimono of soft cotton, is loose and comfortable. The fabric is worn soft from many washings, draping easily over your shoulders. You look around the room. In the gray light, the objects of your life are merely silhouettes. The low writing desk is a dark rectangle against the wall. The stand for your swords is a darker shape in the alcove, the tokonoma. You do not reach for them yet. You simply acknowledge their presence. They are there, the steel resting in lacquered wood, silent and waiting. You turn your body and place your feet on the tatami. The sensation is immediate. The rush grass is cool, textured, and firm. It is not like stepping onto a cold stone floor, nor is it like sinking into a rug. It is a living texture. You can feel the ridges of the weave under the soles of your feet. You curl your toes slightly, gripping the texture. You stand up, your joints pop softly, a personal percussion in the quiet room. You stretch your arms upward, your hands reaching toward the ceiling beams that are lost in the shadow. You feel the stretch in your back, your ribs, the sides of your waist. You exhale a long breath, letting your arms float down to your sides. You walk to the shoji screens. Your steps are sliding steps. You have been trained to walk this way, feet gliding over the surface rather than stomping, sensing the floor before committing your weight. Swish, swish. The sound of bare skin on tatami is rhythmic and soothing. You reach the screen. Your hand finds the small, indented catch in the wooden frame. The wood is polished smooth by years of touch. You apply a gentle pressure to the side. The screen resists for a microsecond, then slides open. The sound is a low rumble, wood rolling on wood, a sound that marks the official beginning of the day. You step out onto the engawa, the narrow wooden veranda that runs along the outside of the house. The wood here is different. It is polished planking, smooth and hard, chilly against your feet. The air outside is different too. It is fresher, carrying the moisture of the night. You look out into the garden. The sun has not yet crested the horizon, but the sky is lightening, turning a pale, translucent violet. The garden is a study in stillness. A pine tree stands in the corner, its needles dark and distinct against the sky. You look at the pine needles. Each one is tipped with a tiny sphere of dew. In the growing light, these drops of water look like glass beads. They are perfectly still. If you stare at just one drop, you can see the reflection of the entire garden caught inside it, upside down and tiny. There is a stone lantern near the center of the garden. It is old, covered in patches of velvety moss. The stone is gray and rough, a contrast to the sleekness of the wet leaves around it. A fern growing at the base of the lantern unfurls a new frond, a spiral of pale green. The gravel in the garden has been raked into patterns, ripples that mimic water. The shadows in the grooves of the gravel are deep, giving the ground a texture that looks like fabric. You breathe in the garden air. It smells of damp earth, of pine resin, and of rain that fell days ago and is still remembered by the soil. You turn back to the house. It is time to fold the bedding. This is not a chore to be rushed through. It is a ritual of order. You return to the sleeping room. You take the heavy quilt and lay it flat. You smooth the fabric with your hands, ironing out the wrinkles of your sleep. The sound of your palms moving over the cotton is a soft, dry rasp. You fold it in half. You align the corners perfectly. Then in half again. The bundle becomes thick and dense. You lift it. It has a satisfying weight. You place it aside. Then the bottom mattress, the shikibuton. It is lighter but more unwieldy. You fold it in 3 sections, creating a neat rectangle. You stack it on top of the quilt. You pick up the pillow, a small, firm cushion filled with buckwheat husks. When you move it, the husks shift inside with a sound like pouring sand. You place it on top of the stack. You open the cupboard door. The sliding door moves silently. Inside, the shelves are bare wood, smelling of cedar to keep moths away. You slide your bedding into its designated space. The room is now empty. The tatami mats stretch out, uncluttered, a golden green expanse of open space. The room looks larger now. It looks ready. You feel a small sense of satisfaction at this transformation. From the chaos of sleep to the order of the day, it is a small victory of discipline. You move into the corridor. The light is dimmer here, away from the outer windows. The floorboards of the hallway are wide, dark wood, gleaming with a patina of age. They are cool and smooth, slippery like satin. You walk toward the kitchen area. You can hear the faint sounds of the household waking up, the soft shuffle of feet, the clinking of iron on iron. You enter the main room where the hearth is cut into the floor. The hibachi is already awake. A small mound of charcoal glows red in the center of the white ash. The ash is like fine powder, soft and gray. You kneel by the hearth. The heat radiates outward, a gentle, invisible wave that touches your face and hands. It is a focused warmth, different from the diffuse warmth of the sun. It smells of burning oak. An iron kettle sits on a tripod over the coals. It is black, pebbled with a rough texture. A wisp of white steam curls from its spout, rising straight up in the still air before dispersing. You watch the steam. It twists and turns, dancing in the updraft. It is hypnotic. You reach for a tea canister. It is made of cherry bark, polished to a deep reddish shine. The lid fits tightly. You twist it, feeling the friction, and pull it open with a soft pop. Inside, the green tea leaves are dark, almost black needles. The smell hits you grassy, bitter, sweet, concentrated. It is the smell of spring fields, dried and preserved. You take a small scoop, carved from bamboo. The bamboo is golden and smooth, light in your fingers. You measure the leaves into a small teapot, 1 scoop, 2 scoops. The leaves make a tiny scratching sound as they hit the ceramic bottom of the pot. You pick up the iron kettle. The handle is wrapped in leather to protect your hand. It is heavy with water. You tilt it. The water pours out in a clear, steaming stream. The sound of the water hitting the leaves is the loudest sound in the morning. So far, a splash, a gurgle, then silence as you set the kettle back. You place the lid on the teapot. Now, you wait. You do not check a clock. You measure the time by the heat of the cup in your hand, by the color of the light on the wall, by the number of breaths you take. 1, 2, 3, 4. You visualize the leaves inside the dark pot, unfurling in the hot water, releasing their green color, their flavor, their spirit into the liquid. The pot becomes warm to the touch. You pick it up and pour. The tea is a pale, vibrant green, steaming and fragrant. You fill the cup only halfway. You set the pot down. You lift the cup with both hands. The ceramic is rough against your palms, an intentional imperfection that gives your fingers purchase. You bring the cup to your face. The steam warms your nose. You inhale. The scent is clearing, sharpening your mind. You take a sip. The liquid is hot, almost scalding, but not quite. It flows over your tongue, carrying the bitterness of the leaf and the sweetness of the aftertaste. You swallow, and you feel the warmth travel down your throat, settling in your stomach, radiating outward to your limbs. It is the first real energy of the day. You sit in seiza, your legs folded beneath you, your spine straight. You are not stiff, but balanced. You look at the charcoal glowing in the hearth. You watch a single spark pop and land in the ash, fading from orange to gray in seconds. Everything is slow. Everything is deliberate. The morning is not a race. It is a procession. You finish the tea, wiping the rim of the cup with your thumb. You stand up, your knees moving smoothly. It is time to wash. You walk to the wash basin area. A wooden bucket of water stands ready. A ladle rests across the top. The water is still, a perfect mirror reflecting the ceiling beams. You dip the ladle. The water is cold. You pour it into the basin. The sound of water pouring is musical, a bright, clear note. You cup your hands and splash the water onto your face. The cold is a shock, sharp and immediate. It tightens your skin, wakes your eyes, chases away the last lingering fuzziness of sleep. You rub your face with a rough cotton cloth. The friction feels good. You dry your hands, observing the water droplets clinging to your knuckles before you wipe them away. Now you must dress. You return to your room where your clothes are waiting. They are hung on a rack of lacquered wood. The kimono is indigo blue, a color derived from the dye of the indigo plant, fermented and dipped dozens of times to achieve this deep, dark hue that looks almost like the night sky. You touch the fabric. It is cotton, but sturdy with a tight weave. You slip off your sleeping robe. The air of the room touches your skin for a moment before you slide your arms into the sleeves of the day kimono. The fabric is cool at first, but quickly warms to your body heat. You pull the collar tight, crossing the left side over the right. Always left over right. It is a habit so ingrained you could do it in your sleep. You adjust the collar so it sits flat against your neck, neither too high nor too loose. You reach for the obi, the sash. It is a long strip of stiff fabric, gray with a subtle geometric pattern in black thread. You find the center. You place it against your waist. You wrap it around yourself. Once, twice. The motion is circular, encompassing. You pull it tight, not so tight that you cannot breathe, but tight enough to provide a center of gravity. A samurai's strength comes from the belly, the hara, and the obi supports this. You tie the knot. It is a complex knot requiring dexterity. Your fingers move without looking, looping, pulling, flattening. The knot is secure. You rotate it to the back. You feel contained. You feel held together. You smooth the front of the kimono, running your hands down your thighs to remove any creases. You pick up your haori, the outer jacket. It is black with your family crest, a small circle containing 3 oak leaves dyed in white on the back and the sleeves. You slip it on. It adds a layer of formality, a layer of weight. The silk cords at the front of the haori are tied in a decorative knot. You adjust them until they hang perfectly even. You are almost ready. You look at the tokonoma again. The swords, the katana, and the wakizashi. They are the final piece. You walk over to them. You kneel. This is a moment of respect. You are not just picking up tools, you are picking up your soul. You reach out and take the wakizashi, the shortest sword, first. The scabbard is black lacquer, cool and smooth as glass. You slide it into your obi on your left side. It fits snugly. Then the katana. It is longer, heavier. You feel the balance of the weapon as you lift it. You slide it in beside the short sword. The 2 guards, the tsuba, click softly together. The weight at your hip is familiar, a grounding anchor that shifts your center of gravity slightly, changing the way you stand. You rise. You are now fully yourself. You walk back toward the entrance of the house. The house is fully awake now. You hear the rhythmic chopping of a knife on a wooden board from the kitchen. Chop, 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 chop. Someone is cutting daikon radishes for the morning soup. The smell of miso is beginning to drift through the hallway, salty and savory, mingling with the smell of the charcoal. You step into the genkan, the entryway. The floor here is packed earth, hard as stone. You step down from the raised wooden floor onto the earth. You slip your feet into your sandals. They are zori, with soles of woven rush and straps of dark velvet. Your toes grip the thong of the sandal. You test the fit. It is good. You reach for the door handle. The wood is grainy under your fingers. You slide the door open. The morning light floods in, no longer gray, but a pale, clean yellow. The sun has cleared the roofs of the town. The street outside is bathed in this fresh light. You step out. The air outside is moving, carrying the sounds of the town. The clatter of wooden wheels, the voice of a neighbor calling out a greeting, the chirping of sparrows that are hopping in the dust of the road. You stand there for a moment, just breathing, feeling the two swords at your side, feeling the obi tight around your waist, feeling the morning sun warm on your forehead. You are ready to begin the walk. You take your first step away from the threshold of your home and onto the street. The ground beneath your sandals is different here. Inside, everything was wood and straw, materials that give slightly under your weight. Here, the earth is packed hard, a surface created by decades of footsteps, cartwheels, and the pressing weight of the seasons. It is a pale, dusty brown, dry from the recent clear weather. As you walk, you can feel the tiny irregularities of the road through the thin soles of your zori. A small pebble here, a slight ridge of dried mud there. It is a sensation that connects you to the physical reality of the town. You do not look down, but your feet know the way. They adjust automatically to the terrain, finding the flat spots, avoiding the loose stones. The air in the street is moving more freely than it was in your garden. It carries a current of cool morning breeze that flows down the narrow lane like water in a stream bed. It brushes against your cheeks, carrying the scent of damp wood from the houses on either side. You look at the houses as you pass them. They are similar to yours, yet each has a distinct face. The timber beams of the house to your left have darkened to a near black with age and weather, the grain standing out like raised veins on an old hand. The plaster between the beams is a creamy white, though in places it has cracked in spiderweb patterns that look like maps of imaginary rivers. You trace these cracks with your eyes as you walk past, a slow visual exploration that requires no effort. A few steps further, you encounter a low wooden fence made of bamboo stalks tied together with black twine. The bamboo has dried to a pale yellow, almost the color of bone. You hear a rustle from behind it. A branch of a plum tree hangs over the fence, offering its blossoms to the street. The flowers are small, 5-petaled, a delicate shade of pink that looks almost white against the dark bark of the branch. A single petal detaches itself as you watch. It falls slowly, rocking back and forth in the air like a tiny boat on an invisible ocean before landing silently in the dust of the road. You step carefully around it, leaving it undisturbed. The sound of sweeping draws your attention. It is a rhythmic, hypnotic sound. Shwip, shwip, shwip. Ahead of you, an old woman is cleaning the patch of earth in front of her shop. She is bent over, her back curved like a willow branch. She holds a broom made of coarse twigs bundled together. She does not just move the dust, she guides it. With each stroke, she creates a small cloud that catches the morning sunlight, turning the dust motes into a momentary haze of gold. She works with a slow, meditative consistency. She does not look up as you approach. She is lost in the rhythm of her task, a morning ritual that is as important to her as your sword practice is to you. You pass her quietly. The sound of her broom fades behind you, a steady heartbeat of the street that grows softer and softer until it is gone. You approach a crossroads. Here, the street widens slightly. In the center stands a small shrine, a tiny wooden structure barely larger than a birdhouse, perched on a stone pedestal. It is dedicated to Jizo, the guardian of travelers and children. The stone of the statue is worn smooth, the features of the face almost erased by centuries of rain and wind, leaving only a suggestion of a gentle expression. Someone has placed a red bib around the statue's neck, the fabric bright and new against the gray stone. A fresh offering sits at the base, a small pyramid of white stones and a single wild flower in a bamboo cup. You pause for a fraction of a second, dipping your head in a bow that is so subtle it is almost invisible. It is not a grand gesture. It is a momentary alignment of your spirit with the spirit of the place. You turn left, toward the district where the merchants operate. The atmosphere changes here. It is not loud, but it is busier. The smell of the air shifts. It becomes richer, layered with the scents of commerce. You smell soy sauce, salty and fermented. You smell vinegar. You smell the earthy, dusty scent of unpolished rice stored in burlap sacks. The shops are beginning to open. Wooden shutters are being slid back into their housings. The sound is a series of heavy clatters, clack, 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 echoing down the row. It is the sound of the town opening its eyes. You pass a tofu maker's shop. The front of the shop is open to the street, and clouds of white steam billow out from the darkness inside. The steam is thick and humid, carrying the heavy, bean-rich scent of soy. It smells warm and comforting, a smell that speaks of breakfast and nourishment. Through the mist, you can see the tofu maker. He is a young man, his sleeves tied back with a cord to keep them out of the way. He is dipping a wooden ladle into a large vat of steaming soy milk. He moves with a fluid grace, pouring the liquid into wooden molds lined with cheesecloth. The sound of the liquid pouring is different from water. It is thicker, heavier, glug, glug, glug. He presses a wooden lid down onto the mold. You can hear the faint hiss of whey being squeezed out, dripping into a bucket below. Drip, drip, drip. The rhythm merges with the sound of your footsteps. Further down, there is a paper shop. The scent here is dry and crisp. It smells of mulberry bark and dried starch. Large sheets of washi paper are hung up to dry on wooden frames in the sun. The paper is creamy and textured, the edges rough and natural. The sunlight passes through the paper, making it glow from within. You can see the long fibers swirling in the sheet, frozen in place. The sheets move very slightly in the breeze, creating a sound that is barely a sound, a whisper of friction, like dry leaves rubbing together. Inside the shop, you see stacks of paper arranged by size and thickness. White, off-white, cream, pale blue. It is a library of potential, waiting for ink. You continue walking. Your breathing is synchronized with your stride. In through the nose for 3 steps, out through the mouth for 3 steps. The swords at your hips sway slightly, a pendulum counting the time. You are aware of their weight, but it is not a burden. It is a part of your body's geometry. You pass a man pulling a cart. The cart is a 2-wheeled wooden structure piled high with wooden barrels. The wheels are rimmed with iron. They make a grinding, crunching sound on the gravel of the road. Grunch, grunch. The man is leaning forward, his body at a sharp angle, the rope of the cart taut over his shoulder. He wears straw sandals that are worn thin. You see the muscles of his calves tense and release with each step. He does not look at you. His focus is entirely on the momentum of his load. You step to the side to give him room. The cart passes, the barrels creaking against each other, a wooden chorus of friction. The smell of sake trails behind him, a yeasty, sharp sweetness that hangs in the air for a moment before dissipating. The sun is higher now. It touches the tops of the roofs on the western side of the street. The tiles are gray clay, curved and overlapping like the scales of a dragon. Where the sun hits them, they shine with a dull silver light. You notice a patch of moss growing in the valley between 2 roof sections. It is a vibrant emerald green, a small cushion of life clinging to the baked clay. A sparrow lands on the ridge of the roof. It fluffs its feathers, looking like a small brown puffball. It chirps once, sharp and clear, then hops twice and takes flight, disappearing over the other side. You watch it go, your eyes following the arc of its flight against the blue sky. The sky is a deep, endless blue today, without a single cloud. It looks vast and indifferent, a perfect dome over the small, busy world of the town. You reach a bridge. It creates a gentle arch over a canal that runs through the district. The bridge is made of wood, the railings smoothed by thousands of hands. You step onto the planks. Your footsteps change tone again. On the earth, they were dull thuds. On the bridge, they are hollow, resonant knocks. Thock, thock, thock. You pause at the center of the bridge and look over the railing. The water below is dark and slow-moving. It reflects the sky and the wooden pilings of the bridge, the image wavering and rippling with the current. Long strands of green river weed wave lazily in the water, combing the current like hair. You see a koi fish. It is a large, heavy creature, colored in patches of calico orange, white, and black. It hangs suspended in the water, facing upstream. It is almost motionless, only its pectoral fins moving with a delicate, fanning motion to hold its position against the gentle flow. It looks wise and ancient. It opens its mouth, a small O, and then closes it. You watch it for a long time. The water flows around it, but the fish remains. It is a lesson in stillness amidst motion. A leaf floats by on the surface, spinning slowly. It passes over the fish, casting a tiny shadow. The fish does not react. You take a deep breath of the cool, damp air rising from the canal. It smells of wet stone and algae, a smell that is cool and green. You continue across the bridge. On the other side, the road inclines slightly. You are moving toward the higher ground, toward the administrative district near the castle. The houses here are larger, set further back from the road, behind high walls of white plaster topped with gray tiles. The walls are formidable, designed for privacy and defense, but they are also beautiful. The white plaster is blindingly bright in the sun. You can see the shadows of tree branches from the gardens inside projected onto the white walls. The shadows are crisp and black, moving slightly with the breeze, like a shadow puppet play performed for an audience of one. The sounds of the merchant district fade behind you. Here it is quieter. The walls absorb sound. The only noise is the crunch of your own sandals and the occasional caw of a crow from a pine tree. You see another samurai walking ahead of you. He is older, his hair gray and thinning, tied in a small, neat topknot. He walks with a slight limp, favoring his left leg. His hands are clasped behind his back. He is moving slowly, enjoying the sun. You do not overtake him. There is no hurry. You adjust your pace to match his, keeping a respectful distance. You watch the sway of his haori jacket, the way the fabric folds and unfolds with his movement. It is a rhythm of silk. You pass the gate of a large estate. The heavy wooden doors are closed, bound with iron straps that are rusted a deep orange red. There is a smaller side door, barely large enough for a person to stoop through, which is slightly ajar. Through the gap, you catch a glimpse of a meticulously raked gravel courtyard and the dark wood of a porch. A servant in a blue apron is wiping down the wooden posts of the gate with a damp cloth. The motion is circular, repetitive. Rub, rub, rub. The wood darkens under the damp cloth, then slowly lightens again as it dries in the breeze. The servant pauses to dip the cloth into a wooden bucket, wringing it out with a twisting motion of his wrists. You hear the splash of the water, the squeeze of the fabric. The road curves, and suddenly the castle is visible. It dominates the view, rising from the massive stone walls of the central keep. The walls are a masterpiece of engineering, huge granite boulders fitted together without mortar, purely by the precision of their shape. Some stones are as large as a cart, others are small, filling the gaps. They curve upward in a steep, graceful arc known as the fan slope, designed to be impossible to climb. The castle tower sits atop this stone foundation, layer upon layer of white walls and black roofs. It looks serene and immovable, a mountain made by human hands. The gold ornaments on the roof, ridges, the shachihoko, tiger-headed carp glint fiercely in the sun. They are meant to protect the castle from fire, summoning water from the clouds. Today, they just burn with reflected light. You feel a shift in yourself as you look at the castle. Your spine straightens a fraction more. The castle is the center of your world, the reason for your status, the source of your stipend. It is the physical manifestation of the order you serve. But it is also beautiful. The contrast of the stark white walls against the deep blue sky is sharp and clean. It pleases your eye. You watch a kite, a bird of prey, circling high above the main tower. It rides the thermals, its wings spread wide and motionless. It is a tiny speck of freedom above the rigid structure of the stone and wood. You approach the checkpoint that marks the entrance to the administrative compound. Two guards stand on either side of the gate. They are lower-ranking ashigaru, foot soldiers. They wear simple, conical hats of lacquered wood and breastplates of dark metal over their kimono. They hold spears, The shafts made of polished oak, the blades covered in leather sheaths. They stand perfectly still, staring straight ahead. As you approach, their eyes flicker toward you, assessing your rank, your crest, your swords. They recognize you. They do not speak, but they relax their stance slightly, a subtle signal that you are permitted to pass. You nod to them. It is a small nod, merely a dip of the chin. They bow in return, a sharp, practiced motion. The rustle of their armor as they move is a dry, metallic sound. Chk, chk. You pass through the heavy gate. The shadows inside the gatehouse are deep and cool. The air smells of old timber and the oil used to maintain the weapons. Your footsteps echo loudly on the wooden floorboards of the gate passage, clump, 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 before you emerge back into the sunlight on the other side. You are now inside the official compound. The atmosphere here is one of hushed industry. There are no merchants shouting, no children playing. The buildings are long and low, with wide verandas and many sliding doors. Officials in formal dress move between the buildings, clutching bundles of documents wrapped in cloth. They walk with purpose, their heads down, their minds already on the tasks of the day. You walk toward your assigned building. It is a structure you know as well as your own home. The wood of the exterior is weathered to a silver gray, soft to the touch. You approach the entrance. There is a wooden rack for footwear. You stop. You slide your feet out of your zori. The cool air touches your soles. You place the sandals neatly on the shelf, aligning them perfectly with the edge of the wood. You look at them for a moment to ensure they are straight. Order begins with the smallest things. If your sandals are messy, your mind is messy. If your mind is messy, your work will be flawed. You turn and step up onto the raised wooden floor of the veranda. The wood is polished to a high sheen by the socks of generations of samurai. It is slippery and smooth, like ice that is not cold. You slide open the door to the anteroom. The sound is a soft rumble. You step inside. The smell of the office hits you instantly. It is a smell of ink, of paper, of dust, and of stale tea. It is a dry, scholarly smell. The room is large, divided by screens into smaller working areas. The light filters in through the paper windows, diffused and soft. There are no harsh shadows here, only a gentle, pervasive illumination. You walk to your desk. It is a low, wooden table, its surface stained with the faint, ghostly remnants of ink spills from years past. Your cushion, your zabuton, is waiting for you. It is flat and thin, offering little comfort, but you do not seek comfort here. You seek clarity. You kneel. The motion is a controlled descent, knees to the tatami, toes tucked, then sitting back on your heels. You adjust your hakama, the wide pleated trousers, sweeping the fabric to the side so it lays flat. You place your hands on your thighs. You close your eyes for a brief moment. You listen to the room. You hear the scratch of a brush on paper from the desk next to you. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. It is a dry, rhythmic sound, like a mouse in the wall. You hear the rustle of a scroll being unrolled. You hear a soft cough. You hear the bubbling of a kettle in the corner. These are the sounds of the peace you protect. This is your battlefield today. You open your eyes. You reach for your inkstone. It is a heavy, rectangular slab of slate, cool to the touch. You pour a few drops of water, from a small porcelain dropper onto the surface of the stone. The water forms a clear, trembling bead. You pick up your ink stick, a solid block of compressed soot and glue. You begin to grind the ink. This is the first task of the workday, and it is a meditation in itself. You press the stick against the stone and move it in a slow circle. Grind, grind, grind. The sound is gritty and low. You watch as the clear water slowly turns gray, then dark gray, then a deep, glossy black. The smell of the ink rises to your nose, an earthy, pine soot scent that is sharp and clean. You grind slowly. There is no way to rush this. If you grind too fast, the ink will be bubbly and poor. You must be patient. You watch your hand moving in circles. You feel the friction of the stone. You are preparing your mind as much as the ink. The black liquid thickens. It becomes viscous, clinging to the stone. It is ready. You place the ink stick down. You pick up your brush. The handle is bamboo, light and balanced. The bristles are wolf hair, stiff yet flexible, tapering to a fine point. You dip the brush into the ink. The bristles soak up the black liquid, swelling slightly. You tap the brush against the edge of the stone to remove the excess. You pull a sheet of clean paper toward you. The paper is white, pristine, an open field waiting for your tracks. You look at the document you need to copy. It is a report on rice yields from a village in the northern valley. Columns of numbers, names of farmers, notes on the weather. It is mundane information, but it is vital. It is the lifeblood of the domain. You hold the brush vertically. You take a breath. You lower the tip to the paper. The moment the brush touches the surface, you are committed. The ink flows. You write the first character. Year. The brush moves down, across, down again. The black line is stark against the white paper. You watch the ink soak into the fibers. You write the next character. Rice. A complex shape requiring balance. You focus entirely on the tip of the brush. You are not thinking about the village, or the farmers, or the rice itself. You are thinking about the line, the pressure, the speed, the release. Time begins to dissolve. The morning stretches out into a series of brush strokes. Dip, right, dip, right. The sun moves across the paper screens, changing the angle of the light in the room. The shadows of the window lattice slowly lengthen across the floor. Your legs begin to ache slightly from the seiza position, a dull throb in your knees and ankles, but you acknowledge it and let it be. It is just a sensation. It does not require a reaction. You shift your weight infinitesimally, just enough to keep the blood flowing. You turn a page. The sound of the paper crinkling is loud in the quiet room. You glance at your colleague at the next desk. He is an old man with glasses perched on the end of his nose. He is reading a scroll, his lips moving silently as he sounds out the words. He looks up, catches your eye, and gives a weary, knowing smile. You smile back with your eyes. You both return to the work. The tea boy arrives. He is a young apprentice, barely a teenager. He carries a wooden tray with several cups of coarse green tea. He moves silently, kneeling beside each desk to place a cup down. He places one near your elbow. "Thank you," you whisper. He bows and moves on. You look at the tea. Steam rises from it in a thin, wavering line. You do not drink it yet. You finish the column of figures you are writing. You wipe your brush on the edge of the inkstone. You place the brush on its rest. Then, you reach for the cup. The ceramic is warm. You bring it to your lips. The tea is lukewarm now, bitter and astringent. It washes away the taste of the morning and wakes up your tongue. You drink it slowly, looking out the open door to the courtyard garden. The garden in the center of the office compound is small and simple. Just a few rocks, a patch of moss, and a single maple tree. The maple leaves are green now, broad and flat, catching the sunlight. You watch a beetle crawling slowly along the edge of a leaf. It is iridescent green, shining like a jewel. It pauses, waves its antennae, and continues its journey. You wonder where it is going. Does it have a destination? Or is it just moving? You feel a kinship with the beetle. You are just moving your brush, character by character, page by page. It is a small life, but it has its own rhythm, its own beauty. You finish the tea, you set the cup down, you pick up the brush again. The ink on the stone has begun to dry slightly at the edges. You add a single drop of water and grind it for a moment to refresh it. The smell of pine soot returns. You dip the brush, you begin again. The sun has climbed to its zenith, hanging directly above the tiled roofs of the administrative compound. You know this not by looking at the sky, but by the way the light in the room has shifted. The long, stretching shadows of the morning have retracted, pulling back under the eaves and tables until the light lies flat and heavy on the tatami mats. The air in the room has grown warmer, heavier. It presses against your skin with a gentle, drowsy weight. The smell of the ink has changed, growing slightly more acrid as the water evaporates in the midday warmth, mixing with the scent of old paper and the subtle, dusty smell of straw. Somewhere in the distance, a bell tolls. Bong, bong, bong. It is the bell from the castle watchtower, marking the hour of the horse. The sound is deep and mellow, vibrating through the wooden frame of the building, felt in your chest as much as heard in your ears. It is the signal for the midday break. Around you, the rhythm of the room changes. The scratching of brushes stops, replaced by the soft sounds of movement. Men stretch, their joints popping quietly. There is the rustle of fabric as sleeves are adjusted. There is the click of brushes being placed on porcelain rests. You finish the character you are writing, the symbol for harvest, taking care to ensure the final stroke tapers off perfectly. You do not leave work unfinished in the middle of a word. You wipe your brush on a small cloth kept for this purpose. The cloth is stained black with the ink of 1,000 days. You place the brush down, you cap the water dropper, you place a paper weight, a small strip of brass shaped like a dragon, across the top of your document to keep it from curling. You look at your desk. It is tidy. It is ready to be left. You place your hands on your thighs and exhale, a long, slow breath that releases the tension held in your shoulders for the last 4 hours. You prepare to stand. You rise slowly, unfolding your legs from beneath you. The blood rushes back into your feet, a sensation of pins and needles that sparkles in your calves. You stand still for a moment, letting the sensation pass, letting your equilibrium settle. You walk toward the entrance. Your colleagues are moving with you, a quiet river of blue and gray robes. There is little conversation, just the shared acknowledgement of hunger and the need for a pause. You step down into the genkan. You find your sandals among the rows of identical footwear. You know yours by the slight scuff on the left heel and the way the velvet thong has molded to the shape of your toes. You slide your feet in. The straw is cool compared to the warm tatami. You step out into the bright light of the courtyard. The sun is bright, washing out the colors of the world. The white walls of the compound are blindingly intense, reflecting the heat. You squint slightly. The air outside is still, the breeze having died down for the midday lull. You can hear the cicadas beginning their song in the pine trees near the wall. Gree, gree, gree. It is a sound of heat, a sound of summer approaching, though it is not quite here yet. You walk out of the gate, nodding once more to the guards who have not moved, though beads of sweat now glisten on their foreheads beneath their lacquered hats. You turn down a different street today, heading toward a small eatery you favor near the river. The walk is a pleasure. You are not going to work. You are not going home. You are in the suspended time of the break. You walk slower than usual. You notice the dust on the road, how it puffs up in tiny clouds around the feet of a passing merchant. You notice a stray cat sleeping on a low wall, its orange fur soaking up the sun, its belly rising and falling in deep, enviable sleep. It does not twitch as you pass. It is completely surrendered to the warmth. You smell the eatery before you see it. The scent of dashi broth rich, smoky, and oceanic drifts down the alleyway. It mingles with the smell of grilling fish, the sharp tang of burnt skin and savory fat. Your stomach tightens in anticipation. It is a pleasant hunger, a reminder that you are alive and healthy. The eatery is a small building with a low roof. A navy blue Noren curtain hangs across the entrance, split in the middle. The white characters on the fabric are faded from years of washing, but you know them by heart. You duck your head and part the fabric with your hand. The cloth is coarse and heavy against your fingers. Inside, the air is dim and cool, a relief from the bright street. The room is filled with steam and the low murmur of voices. It is a small space. There is a counter of thick, polished wood where you can sit and watch the cook, and a few small tables on a raised tatami platform. You choose a spot at the counter. The wood is dark, almost black, worn smooth as glass by decades of elbows and bowls. You slide onto the wooden bench. It is hard but sturdy. You place your swords carefully at your side, adjusting them so the hilts do not bump against the neighbor or the counter. This is a habitual movement, unconscious and precise. The cook sees you. He is a man of your age, with a towel tied around his forehead. He nods. He knows what you want. You do not need to order. You simply nod back. He turns to the large iron pot simmering on the stove. You watch him. He moves with economy. He picks up a ladle, dips it into the pot, and pours miso soup into a lacquer bowl. The steam rises in a thick white column. He opens a wooden rice tub. A cloud of steam escapes, smelling sweet and starchy. He uses a flat wooden paddle to fluff the rice, turning it over gently so as not to crush the grains. He scoops a mound of white rice into a ceramic bowl. He uses long metal chopsticks to lift a piece of salted mackerel from the grill. The skin of the fish is blistered and golden, sizzling faintly. He places it on a small rectangular plate. He adds a small pile of grated daikon radish to the side. Finally, he takes a small dish of pickles yellow taquan radish and green cucumber from a crock. He places the tray before you. The movement is fluid. Clack, clack, clack. Bowl, plate, dish. "Thank you," you murmur. He returns to his work. You look at the meal. It is simple, it is perfect. The colors are balanced. The white of the rice, the dark cloudiness of the soup, the gold of the fish, the bright yellow of the pickle. You pick up your chopsticks. They are bamboo, light and tapered. You hold them in your right hand, the tips meeting perfectly. First, the soup. You lift the lacquer bowl with your left hand. The bowl is warm, the heat radiating through the wood into your palm. You bring it to your lips. You sip. The flavor is deep and salty, the taste of fermented soybeans and bonito stock filling your mouth. It warms you from the inside. There are small cubes of tofu in the soup, soft as clouds, and slivers of wakame seaweed that offer a slight resistance to your teeth. You swallow, feeling the warmth travel down to your stomach. You set the bowl down. Next, the rice. You pick up the rice bowl. You lift a small clump of grains with your chopsticks. The rice is sticky, the grains clinging together. You put it in your mouth. It tastes sweet, a subtle, natural sweetness that comes from the starch. The texture is firm but yielding. You chew slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You appreciate the texture. This rice was grown in a paddy field you might have ridden past, watered by the rain that fell last season, harvested by hands you will never shake. You honor that effort by eating with attention. You break off a piece of the fish. The skin crunches softly. The flesh underneath is flaky and moist, releasing a burst of savory oil. You eat it with a little of the grated daikon, the sharp, peppery taste of the radish cutting through the richness of the fish. It is a balance of opposites, rich and sharp, hot and cold. You eat a slice of pickle. It is crunchy crunch, crunch and sour, cleansing your palate. You alternate rice, soup, fish, pickle, rice, soup, fish, pickle. It is a rhythm, a small ceremony of sustenance. Around you, other men are eating. You hear the slurp of noodles from a table behind you. In Japan, slurping is not rude. It is a sign of enjoyment, a way to cool the hot noodles and inhale the aroma. You hear the clink of ceramic on wood. You hear the low hum of conversation. 2 merchants are discussing the price of timber in a hushed tone. A group of laborers are laughing softly about a joke one of them told. The atmosphere is communal but respectful. Everyone is here for the same reason, to rest and to eat. You finish your meal. The bowls are empty, save for a few grains of rice which you pick up one by one. You do not waste. You set the chopsticks down on the rest. You pick up the cup of tea that was placed on your tray. It is roasted barley tea, mugicha. It has a nutty, toasted flavor and is served tepid. You drink it to wash down the meal. You sit for a moment longer. You feel the food settling in your stomach, a heavy, warm sensation that makes your eyelids feel slightly thicker. The world seems to have slowed down even more. The shadows in the corner of the room seem deeper. The steam from the pot seems to move more lethargically. You pay the cook, placing a few copper coins on the counter. The metal clinks against the wood. He bows. "Go Chizo-sama deshita," you say. "It was a feast." He smiles. You stand up. You adjust your obi. You feel fuller, heavier, more grounded. You step back out through the Norin curtain. The street is still bright, but the quality of the light has changed slightly. The sun has moved just a fraction past its peak. The shadows are beginning to lean toward the east now. You walk back toward the river. You have a little time before you must return to the desk. You decide to stand by the riverbank for a moment. You find a spot under a willow tree. The branches hang down like green curtains, trailing in the water. You stand in the shade. The air here is cooler. You watch the water flow. It is brown and sluggish today, moving with a heavy, muscular current. A small boat is being poled upstream. The boatman is standing at the stern, pushing a long bamboo pole into the riverbed. He walks forward along the gunwale, leaning his weight into the pole, propelling the boat forward. Then he walks back, pulling the pole up, dripping water. Push, walk, pull, push, walk, pull. The boat moves slowly, fighting the current. You watch the wake it leaves. V-shaped ripples that spread out and dissolve against the muddy bank. You watch until the boat disappears around a bend in the river. You feel a yawn building in your chest. You stifle it, but the feeling remains, a pleasant drowsiness, a desire to lie down in the grass and close your eyes. But you are samurai. Discipline is your spine. You turn away from the river and begin the walk back to the compound. Your feet drag slightly more than they did in the morning. The dust seems thicker, the heat seems more oppressive. You focus on your breath, in, out. You focus on the rhythm of your sandals. Scuff, scuff. You arrive back at the gate. The guards are changing shift. The new guards look fresher, their armor tied tighter, their eyes more alert. You nod to them and pass through. The compound is quiet again. The midday bustle has ended. Everyone has returned to their posts. You walk to the building, remove your sandals again, and step into the cool interior. The office feels different in the afternoon. The light is warmer, more gold than white. It slants across the floor, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air. The room feels sleepier. The scratching of brushes is slower, more sporadic. You return to your desk. You sit. The cushion feels harder now. You pick up your brush. The ink has dried on the stone. You must grind more. You add water. You take the ink stick. Grind, grind, grind. The sound is the only thing keeping you awake. You look at the paper. The characters you wrote this morning look crisp and black. You must match them. You dip the brush. You begin to write again, but your mind is less sharp. It wanders. You find yourself staring at the pattern of the wood grain on your desk. It looks like water flowing around a rock. You stare at it until it seems to move. You blink, shaking your head slightly. You refocus. You are copying a report about a dispute over a boundary line between two farms. A persimmon tree overhangs a fence. To whom does the fruit belong? The farmer on the left claims the roots are in his soil. The farmer on the right claims the branches are in his air. It is a trivial matter, yet it requires official documentation. You write down the details, the tree in question, the branches extending. The afternoon stretches out. It is a long, slow exhale. Time seems to pool in the corners of the room like syrup. You hear a fly buzzing against the paper screen. Bzzd, bzzd. It stops. Then it starts again. It is trying to get out, or perhaps trying to get in. You watch its shadow on the paper, a frantic black blur. You feel a strange sympathy for the fly. You are both contained in this room, bound by the invisible walls of duty. A senior official walks through the room. He is a man of high rank, wearing a stiff kamishimo vest with broad, wing-like shoulders. He walks silently, his face a mask of serious contemplation. He stops at your desk. You stop writing. You bow your head, waiting. He places a hand on your desk. His hand is old, the skin spotted with age, the veins blue and prominent. He taps the wood twice with his index finger. "Your report from yesterday," he says softly. His voice is like dry leaves. "The summary of the timber shipment." "Yes, sir," you reply, keeping your head low. "It was adequate. Your calligraphy is improving. The character for mountain has a good strength to it." "Thank you, sir. I am humbled." He stands there for a moment longer. You can smell the scent of incense on his clothes, a smell of sandalwood and clove. "Continue," he says. He moves on. You breathe out. It was a small interaction, but it ripples through your afternoon. A compliment, a validation. You feel a renewed energy. You sit up straighter. You dip your brush with more purpose. The character for mountain. You write it again on a scrap of paper, testing the strength of the stroke. The vertical line, the base, the peaks. It is a strong shape. It is a shape that endures. The sun begins its descent. The light in the room turns a deep amber. The shadows stretch out again, reaching from the west wall across the floor toward you. They are long, thin fingers of darkness. The air begins to cool. You can feel the heat lifting from the roof tiles above you. The sound of the town outside changes. The high-pitched energy of the day softens. You hear children calling to each other as they return from school. You hear the clanging of the temple bell marking the late afternoon. Gong, gong, gong. Work is ending. The realization comes as a physical relief. You finish the page you are on. You do not start a new one. You begin the ritual of closing down. You wash your brush in a small bowl of water. The water turns black, swirling like storm clouds. You wipe the brush on the cloth, reshaping the bristles into a perfect point so they dry straight. You clean your inkstone, wiping away the remaining black liquid until the gray slate is visible again. You stack your papers, you align the edges. You place the dragon paperweight on top. You stand up. Your knees are stiff. You stretch, hearing the small pops of your spine. You bow to the room, to the empty space where the spirit of your work resides. You bow to your colleagues, who are also packing up. "Otsukare-sama deshita," you say to them. You are tired from your honorable work. They return the phrase. It is a chorus of shared fatigue and respect. You step out onto the veranda. The sun is low now, casting a golden light that makes the world look like a painting. The white walls of the castle are tinged with pink. You put on your sandals. You step into the courtyard. You are done with the brush for today. Now, the day turns toward the sword. You walk out of the compound, but instead of heading home, you turn toward the dojo. The transition is mental as well as physical. You leave the mind of the administrator behind, the mind of numbers, disputes, and ink. You begin to summon the mind of the warrior, the mind of space, timing, and breath. You walk with a slightly different gait. Your steps are firmer. Your hand rests unconsciously on the hilt of your katana. You feel the texture of the sharkskin wrapping on the handle, rough and gripping. The dojo is located on the edge of the castle grounds, near a grove of bamboo. As you approach, you can hear the wind rustling through the bamboo leaves. Shh! It is a sound like water, like a stream flowing in the air. You smell the bamboo, a green, grassy scent. You also smell the dojo itself, the smell of unvarnished wood, of sweat, of leather. It is a primal smell. You arrive at the entrance. The wooden sign above the door is weathered, the calligraphy carved deep into the wood. Hall of the Empty Mind. You slide the door open. The sound is loud in the quiet afternoon. Inside, the floor is expansive, a sea of polished wooden planks that gleam in the fading light. Dust motes float in the shafts of sunlight that pierce the high windows. The room is empty for now, save for one other student who is sweeping the floor with a damp rag. He pushes the rag across the length of the hall, running back and forth. Swipe, swipe, swipe. It is part of the training. To clean the dojo is to clean the mind. You step inside. You bow to the shrine at the far end of the hall where a scroll hangs. You sit on the wooden bench near the entrance to remove your socks and sandals. You are barefooted now. The wood of the dojo floor is cool and smooth as satin. You walk to the changing room. You remove your hakama and kimono. You fold them carefully. You put on your training gi. The fabric is heavy, coarse cotton, quilted to offer some protection. It smells of soap and hard work. You tie the belt tight. You pick up your bokken, the wooden sword. It is made of white oak. It is heavy, scarred from countless clashes. You run your hand along its length. It is warm from the day. You walk out onto the floor. You find a spot near the center. You stand. You plant your feet. You close your eyes. You breathe. In through the nose, filling your belly. Out through the mouth, a long, thin stream of air. You are waiting. You are clearing away the boundary dispute, the rice figures, the persimmon tree. You are emptying the cup so it can be filled again. You stand in the center of the dojo, your feet shoulder-width apart, rooting yourself into the floor. The wood beneath your bare soles is solid and cool, a sensation that travels up through your arches and into your calves. You wiggle your toes, gripping the smooth planks, feeling the microscopic ridges of the grain. You are not just standing on the floor, you are connecting with it. You close your eyes. The air in the room is still, holding the breathless anticipation of movement. You hear the rustle of fabric as other students enter, the soft thud of their feet, the respectful silence they carry with them. You lift the bokken, the wooden sword, in your right hand. It is white oak, dense and heavy. You feel the balance of it. It is not a dead stick. It has a center of gravity that you must respect. You bring your left hand to the bottom of the hilt, your right hand near the guard. Your grip is light, like holding an egg, firm enough not to drop it, but soft enough not to crush it. This is the tenno uchi, the palm grip. You squeeze slightly with your pinky fingers, locking the weapon into your structure. The instructor enters. He is a small man, but he occupies the space with a density that makes him seem larger. He walks silently, his hakama flowing around him like dark water. He claps his hands once. The sound is sharp, cutting through the silence like a blade. You all kneel. The uniform rustle of stiff fabric is like a sudden wind in the trees. You bow to the shoman, the front of the room. You bow to the teacher. You bow to your sword. You rise. The warm-up begins. It is not frantic. It is a slow, methodical awakening of the body's geometry. You step forward with your right foot, sliding it along the floor. Swish. You cut down with the bokken. Whoosh. You stop the blade at knee height. You step back. Swish. You raise the blade. This is Subari repetition. 1. Cut. 2. Cut. 3. Cut. You focus on the tip of the wooden sword. It draws a perfect arc in the air. Up, pause, down, stop. Up, pause, down, stop. The sound of the wood cutting the air is a low, rhythmic whistle. 50 people are moving in unison. The sound of 50 wooden swords slicing the air at the exact same moment creates a deep, pulsing beat. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It is hypnotic. You stop thinking about the number. You stop thinking about your arms. You become the motion. Your shoulders begin to warm. A dull ache starts to bloom in your deltoids, a familiar fire that tells you the work is real. You do not shy away from it. You breathe into it. On the downswing, you exhale sharply from your belly, a short, percussive breath that tightens your core. The sound merges with the others. The dojo is filled with this collective breathing, a single giant lung, expanding and contracting. Sweat begins to form on your forehead. A single drop rolls down your temple, tickling your skin. You do not wipe it away. You let it fall. It lands on the floor, a tiny dark spot on the pale wood. You step over it on the next repetition. Your hands are becoming slippery on the hilt. You adjust your grip, feeling the wood absorb the moisture. The oak turns slightly darker where your hands hold it. The instructor calls for a change. Kata practice. You pair up. Your partner is a man you know well, a fellow retainer named Jiro. He is taller than you, with a long reach. You face each other. You bow. The distance between you is ma-e, the interval. It is not just physical distance. It is a measure of time and reaction. You raise your swords to the middle stance, chudan no kamae. The tips of your wooden swords cross slightly. They touch, click. The contact sends a tiny vibration down the length of the wood, through the hilt, and into your hands. It is a conversation. You can feel his tension, his readiness, through that single point of contact. You look him in the eyes. His gaze is soft, unfocused, taking in your whole body rather than staring at your blade. This is Enzan no Metsuke, looking at the far mountain. He steps in. He raises his sword. You see the movement before it fully happens. You step to the side. Your feet slide smoothly, carrying you out of the line of fire. You bring your sword down on his. Clack. The sound of oak striking oak is loud and resonant. It echoes in the high rafters of the hall. It is a clean sound, devoid of anger. You are not fighting Jiro. You are helping him polish his technique, and he is helping you polish yours. He attacks again. A side cut. You block. Clack. The impact jars your wrists slightly, but your structure holds. You counterattack. You step in, invading his space. You stop your blade an inch from his shoulder. He does not flinch. He trusts you. You trust yourself. You hold the position for a heartbeat, breathing out, showing Zenshin remaining spirit, awareness. Then you both step back to the center. You reset. The light in the dojo is changing. The sun has dropped below the wall, and the room is filling with the blue twilight of early evening. The corners of the hall are dark. The only light comes from the high windows, a pale, fading rectangle on the floor. In this dim light, vision becomes less important. You rely more on sensing. You listen to the slide of Jiro's feet. You listen to the intake of his breath before he strikes. You feel the displacement of air as his sword swings. Your world narrows down to this rectangle of wood, this partner, this rhythm. The administrative office is 1,000 miles away. The rice taxes do not exist. The boundary dispute is forgotten. There is only this cut, this block, this breath. Your mind is clear like a polished mirror. Thoughts arise. My foot is turned out. My grip is too tight. And you let them pass like clouds, returning to the empty sky of the present moment. Yame. The instructor's voice cuts through the air. Stop. You lower your swords. You are breathing heavily now, your chest heaving against the restricted fabric of the gi. Sweat is running down your back, but it is a good exhaustion. It is a clean fatigue. You bow to Jiro. Arigato gozaimashita. Thank you very much. He bows back, wiping his forehead with his sleeve. You line up again. Seiza. You kneel. The floor is hard against your shins, but after the movement, the stillness feels luxurious. You place your hands in your lap, forming a cosmic mudra, thumbs touching lightly. You close your eyes. Mokuso. Meditation. You focus on your breath. It is fast and ragged, but you slowly calm it. You lengthen the exhale. You imagine the heat in your body sinking down into the earth. You imagine the adrenaline evaporating like steam. The room is silent, save for the sound of 50 people breathing, slowing down together. The heart rate slows. The mind settles. The dojo becomes a place of absolute peace. Rei. Bow. You bow to the teacher. You stand. The practice is over. You enter the changing room. The air here is humid and smells of damp cotton. You untie your belt. You peel off the heavy, sweat-soaked gi. The air hits your skin, cool and refreshing. You use a small towel to wipe your body. The towel is rough, stimulating your skin, scrubbing away the salt and the sweat. You feel lighter. You put on your underrobe, then your kimono. The silk feels cool and smooth, sliding over your tired muscles. You tie your obi. It feels looser now, more comfortable. You slide your swords back into place. They are cold to the touch. You step out of the dojo. The night has fully arrived. The sky is a deep, velvety purple, sprinkled with the first few stars. The air is cool, carrying the scent of wood smoke from the town's cooking fires. You take a deep breath, tasting the night. You feel cleansed. The stress of the day has been sweated out, left on the wooden floor of the hall. You begin the walk home, but first you decide to stop at the Sento, the bathhouse. It is on your way, and your muscles are asking for heat. You walk down the hill from the castle. The town is different at night. It is intimate. Lanterns hang outside shops and homes, casting warm, yellow pools of light on the street. The paper of the lanterns glows, revealing the bamboo ribs inside. People are walking home, their faces illuminated briefly as they pass under the lights. You hear the clatter of dishes being washed. You hear a mother singing a lullaby to a child. The town feels like a single, large family preparing for rest. You arrive at the bathhouse. Steam is escaping from the vents under the eaves, drifting up into the night sky like spirits. You smell the sulfur and the minerals of the hot water. You slide the door open. The warmth hits you instantly, a humid, embracing wall of heat. You pay the attendant, an old man sitting on a high wooden platform, who nods as he takes your coins. You enter the changing area. You strip off your clothes again, placing them in a wicker basket. You are naked now, just a human body, Among other human bodies, rank and status are left with the clothes in the basket. Here, there are no samurai, no merchants, no farmers. There is only skin and bone and muscle. You take a small towel and a wooden bucket. You walk into the bathing area. The room is tiled with stone. It is filled with steam, a thick white fog that obscures the far wall. The ceiling drips with condensation. Plip, plip. The sound echoes in the cavernous space. You sit on a low wooden stool in front of a tap. You fill your bucket with hot water. You pour it over your head. The heat is shocking and wonderful. It cascades down your back, chasing away the chill of the night air. You soap your towel. You scrub your skin. You wash every inch of yourself, removing the dust of the road and the sweat of the dojo. You rinse. The water swirls down the drain, carrying the day away with it. Now, the bath. The main tub is a large rectangular pool lined with cypress wood. The wood releases a fragrant, lemony scent into the steam. You step in. The water is very hot. You sink in slowly. Ankle, knee, thigh, waist. You pause to let your body adjust. The heat penetrates deep into your muscles. You sink lower, chest, shoulders, neck. You let out a long sigh. Ah, it is a sound of pure relief. You sit on the underwater bench. The water comes up to your chin. You are weightless. Your arms float in front of you. The water holds you. You close your eyes. The heat loosens the knots in your shoulders. It soothes the ache in your legs. You feel your blood vessels dilating, moving the blood easily through your body. You listen to the sounds of the bathhouse. The sound of water pouring from a bamboo spout gurgle. Gurgle, splash. The sound of a bucket clattering on the tiles. The low murmur of men talking quietly in the steam. The harvest looks good this year, someone says. Yes, if the rain holds off, another replies. Their voices are slow, lethargic. The heat makes everyone slow. You do not speak. You just soak. You stare at the surface of the water. Ripples reflect the light of the oil lamps on the wall, creating dancing patterns of gold on the dark liquid. You watch a single drop of water fall from the ceiling and land on the surface. Ring upon ring spreads out, perfect circles expanding until they touch the edge of the tub. You stay until your fingertips are wrinkled like dried plums. You stay until your face is flushed pink. You stay until you feel as though your bones have turned to jelly. Then, slowly, heavily, you stand up. You step out of the tub. The air feels cool now, even though the room is hot. You rinse one last time with cool water to close your pores. You dry off in the changing room. Your skin is glowing. You feel incredibly clean. You put on your clothes. They feel fresh against your scrubbed skin. You step out into the night. The air outside is crisp, bordering on cold. It feels delicious against your warm face. You wrap your haori tight around you. You are a warm coal glowing in the night. You walk the rest of the way home. The streets are darker now. Most shops are closed. The town is settling down. You walk slowly, your feet dragging slightly in your sandals. You are ready for sleep. You turn the corner and see your own gate. The lantern by the door is lit, a welcoming beacon. You slide the gate open and step into your garden. The garden at night is a world of shadows. The moonlight paints the stones in silver and gray. The pine tree is a black silhouette against the stars. You hear the crickets. Chirp, chirp, chirp. They are loud in the silence. You step up into the entrance of your house. Tadaima, you call out softly. I am home. Okaeri nasai. A voice replies from deeper in the house. Welcome home. It is a soft, familiar voice. You remove your sandals. You step onto the tatami. The texture is familiar, welcoming. You walk to the living room. The family has already eaten, but a tray has been kept for you. You are not very hungry. The heat of the bath has suppressed your appetite, but you sit to eat a little. A bowl of vegetable soup, cool now. A little rice. You eat in silence, listening to the sounds of the house preparing for bed, the shutting of wooden shutters, the sliding of screens, the rustle of futons being laid out. You go to your room. It is exactly as you left it this morning, yet it feels different in the dark. The tokonoma is in shadow. The scroll is just a pale strip on the wall. You remove your swords. You place them on the rack. The click of the scabbard touching the wood is the final period at the end of the sentence of your day. You remove your haori. You remove your obi, unraveling the layers of fabric. You feel your stomach expand as the pressure is released. You remove your kimono. You put on your sleeping yukata. You look at the futon. It is already laid out for you, a white rectangle of invitation. You sit on the edge of it. You look at the candle burning on a small stand. The flame flickers, casting dancing shadows on the paper walls. You watch the flame. It consumes the wax, transforming matter into light and heat. It burns steadily, without complaint. You lean forward and cup your hand behind the flame. You blow gently, puff. The light vanishes. The room is plunged into darkness, but it is not a frightening darkness. It is a soft, velvety darkness. The smell of the extinguished candle wick a thin trail of smoke drifts to your nose. It is the scent of the end of the day. You lie down. You pull the quilt up to your chin. You wiggle your feet, finding the cool spots in the sheets. You settle your head on the buckwheat pillow. The husks crunch softly, molding to the shape of your skull. You stare up into the darkness. You can faintly see the lines of the ceiling beams, darker strips against the dark ceiling. You close your eyes. You replay the day in your mind, but backward. The hot water of the bath, the sound of the wooden swords clacking, the golden light of the late afternoon, the taste of the miso soup at lunch, the smell of the ink, the sound of the broom in the morning. You let each image go. You release them. They are gone. They are the past. You feel your body getting heavy. Your legs feel like logs sinking into a riverbed. Your arms are heavy ropes. Your eyelids are weights. You listen to your breath. In, out, in, out. The house creaks. The wind sighs outside. You are safe. You are warm. You are clean. You are tired. You drift. Deeper, deeper. The boundary between you and the room begins to dissolve. There is only the breath, and the dark, and the quiet. The sound of the world has changed while you slept. Yesterday, the silence was made of dry air and distant insect hums. But this morning, the silence has been replaced by a continuous, enveloping rhythm. It is the rain. It is the tsuyu, the plum rain season, descending upon the castle town with a gentle, relentless persistence. You do not wake up all at once. You float up from the depths of your dreams toward the surface, carried by the sound of water. It is a multi-layered sound. There is the deep, dull drumming of heavy drops hitting the thatched roof of the kitchen area. There is the sharper, hollow pinging of water striking the clay tiles above your room. There is the soft, chaotic whispering of rain falling into the garden foliage, a million tiny leaves bowing under the weight of a million tiny impacts. You lie still under your quilt. The air in the room is different today. It is heavier, laden with moisture, cool and clinging. It smells of wet stone, of saturated wood, of earth that has drunk its fill and can drink no more. The light filtering through the shoji screens is not the bright, piercing yellow of a sunny morning. It is a soft, diffused pearl gray, a light that casts no shadows, a light that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. It is a sleepy light. It tells you that there is no hurry. The sun is hidden behind thick banks of cloud that have settled over the valley like a heavy gray blanket. You pull the quilt up to your chin. The cotton fabric feels slightly cool to the touch, absorbing the dampness of the air. You listen to the gutters, the rain chains, the kusari doi hanging from the eaves are singing their liquid song. Water funnels from the roof into the copper cups of the chain, spilling from one to the next gurgle, splash, trickle guiding the rain down to the earth in a controlled, vertical stream. It is a mesmerizing sound, a lullaby that almost pulls you back into sleep. But you must rise, not with a leap, but with a slow, deliberate surrender to the day. You push the quilt aside. The air touches your skin, cool and humid. You sit up. Your body feels heavier today, a common sensation when the pressure drops. You roll your shoulders, hearing the faint friction of your joints. You look at the tokonoma. The scroll hanging there today depicts a carp swimming up a waterfall. In this gray light, the ink looks darker, the water in the painting seeming to move with the shadows of the room. The flower in the vase is a single hydrangea, a ball of pale blue petals that thrives in this wet weather. It looks vivid and alive against the muted tones of the wall. You stand and slide the shoji open. The wood of the frame has swollen slightly with the humidity, making the door stick just a fraction before it slides smooth. You step out onto the engawa. The garden is transformed. The dry, raked gravel you saw yesterday is now dark and glistening. Puddles have formed in the low spots, reflecting the gray sky like mirrors dropped in the mud. The moss on the stone lantern has turned a brilliant electric green, drinking in the moisture. The pine needles are tipped with silver drops. The air is so thick with mist you can taste it. It tastes of ozone and wet pine. You walk to the wash basin. The water in the wooden bucket is cold. You splash your face. It wakes you, but gently. You dry your face with a towel that feels slightly damp despite being indoors. Nothing is truly dry in this season. You accept this. You dress in your kimono. Today you choose a darker fabric, a charcoal gray that matches the day. The fabric is smugitsumugi, silk-textured and nubby, warmer than smooth silk, offering a bit of protection against the damp chill. You tie your obi. You slide your swords into place. Even the lacquer of the scabbards feels different today, cool and slightly tacky to the touch. You go to the kitchen. The fire in the brazier is particularly welcome this morning. The charcoal glows with a comforting dry heat that pushes back the humidity in a small circle around the hearth. The kettle is already boiling. The steam does not rise straight up today. It spreads out, heavy and low, mingling with the air. You make your tea. It is a roasted hojicha today, brown and nutty, with a lower caffeine content and a warming toasted aroma that fits the mood of the rain. You cup the warm ceramic in your hands, feeling the heat seep into your palms. You drink slowly, watching the rain fall in the courtyard through the open sliding door. It falls in straight, vertical lines, a curtain of glass beads. Today is a day of duty, but a different kind. You are not required at the castle until midday. The morning is yours. On a rainy day like this, outdoor training is impossible, and the humidity requires that you tend to your tools. Steel rusts. Moisture is the enemy of the blade. Today is a day for tail sword maintenance. You finish your tea and return to your room. You clear your low desk. You fetch your maintenance kit, a small wooden box made of paulownia wood, which is light and resists moisture. You place it on the tatami. You sit in seiza, folding your legs beneath you. You take a breath, centering yourself. The rain drums on the roof, a constant white noise backdrop that isolates you in this moment. You remove your longsword, the katana, from your sash. You hold it horizontally in front of you. You look at the scabbard, the saya. It is black lacquer, sprinkled with tiny flakes of gold dust that catch the gray light. You inspect it for cracks or scratches. It is perfect. You pull the sajo, the silk cord, untying the knot that secures it. You coil the cord neatly. Now, you must draw the blade. You hold the sheath with your left hand, your thumb resting on the guard, the tsuba. You push the guard gently with your thumb, breaking the seal. Click. A tiny sound, barely audible over the rain. You slowly draw the blade out. The steel slides against the wood of the scabbard with a soft, singing hish-shing. You pull it all the way out. The steel is naked now. It gleams in the dim light, a deadly, beautiful mirror. You place the scabbard aside. You hold the blade upright. You look at the surface. In this humidity, invisible micro-droplets of water can settle on the metal, seeding rust. You must remove the old oil and apply fresh protection. You open the maintenance kit. You take out a sheet of rice paper, nugwigami. You crumple it in your hand to soften the fibers. You place the paper around the blade, near the base. You pinch it gently. You slide the paper up the length of the steel. Swish. You wipe away the old oil, the dust, the impurities. You do this several times, using fresh sections of the paper. The motion is rhythmic. Base to tip. Base to tip. You are wiping away the past. Next, you pick up the uchiko bowl. It is a small silk bowl on a stick filled with extremely fine powder made from ground whetstones. You hold the sword horizontally again. You tap the ball against the steel. Tap, tap, tap. Tiny clouds of white powder poof out, settling on the dark gray steel like snow. You tap down the length of the blade every few inches. Tap, tap, tap. The sound is muffled and soft. The powder will absorb any remaining oil and polish the surface. You take a clean piece of rice paper. You wipe the blade again. This time, you press a little harder. You can feel the friction of the powder polishing the metal. The sound is different now, a higher-pitched singing as the paper drags across the steel. You wipe until all the powder is gone. You hold the blade up to the light. You tilt it back and forth. You are looking for the hamon, the temper line where the hard edge meets the softer spine. It appears as a wave, a misty white river flowing along the edge of the weapon. It is beautiful, complex, like clouds caught in the metal. You check for any spots of discoloration. There are none. The steel is pristine. Now, the oil. You take a small bottle of choji oil clove oil. You uncork it. The scent fills the small space around you immediately. It is a spicy, sweet, warm smell, the smell of cloves and mineral oil. It is a smell that has been associated with the samurai for centuries. It cuts through the damp, earthy smell of the rain. You put a few drops on a small piece of flannel cloth. You apply the oil to the blade. You do not need much, just a thin film. You glide the cloth over the steel. The metal darkens slightly as it drinks the oil, glistening with a wet sheen. You coat every inch, the back ridge, the flat, the edge. You are sealing it against the moisture of the rainy season. You are wrapping it in a coat of clove-scented armor. You slide the sword back into the scabbard. You align the tip with the opening. You guide it in. It slides home silently until the final inch, where it seats with a satisfying click. You tie the silk cord back in place. You wipe the exterior of the scabbard with a dry cloth. You place the katana back on the rack. You repeat the process with the wakizashi, the short sword. Tap, 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 wipe, oil. The rhythm is hypnotic. The smell of cloves lingers in the room. The rain continues to fall outside, unwavering. You are in a cocoon of sound and scent. This maintenance is not a chore, it is a relationship. You take care of the steel, and the steel takes care of you. In the silence of the work, your mind empties. You are not thinking about your duties or your rank. You are just a pair of hands tending to an object of art. When you are finished, you pack the kit away. You sweep the tiny specks of white powder from the tatami. You sit back and look at the swords on the rack. They look content. They look ready. The morning has passed in this quiet meditation. It is time to prepare for the walk to the castle. You go to the entrance. You do not wear your usual straw sandals today. You take out a pair of geta, high wooden clogs with 2 teeth on the bottom. These will keep your feet elevated above the mud and the puddles. You also take your oil paper umbrella, a bangasa. It is made of bamboo ribs and heavy paper treated with persimmon juice and oil to make it waterproof. It smells of linseed and smoke. You step out of the door. You open the umbrella. It snaps open with a taut thrum sound. The rain hits the paper canopy immediately. Pata 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 pata. The sound is louder now, directly above your head. It is a drumbeat that travels down the bamboo handle into your hand. You step into the street. The town is transformed by the weather. The dust is gone, replaced by dark, slick mud. People are walking carefully, their heads ducked under umbrellas or wide straw hats. The colors of the kimonos are muted, dark blues and browns. The shop curtains hang heavy and sodden. The usual open-air stalls are packed away or covered with oiled tarps. The town feels smaller, more intimate. Everyone is rushing slightly, moving from shelter to shelter. You walk on your geta, clack, 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 clack. The wooden teeth strike the stones of the path with a distinctive, hollow sound. It is the signature sound of a rainy day in Edo. You navigate the puddles, you watch the raindrops hitting the surface of the puddles, creating expanding rings that intersect and collide. The water in the gutters is running fast, carrying leaves and twigs toward the river. You pass the canal. The water level is higher today, opaque and brown, swirling with energy. The koi fish are nowhere to be seen, hiding in the depths. The willow trees along the bank look heavy, their branches drooping low under the weight of the water, their leaves dripping incessantly. A frog croaks from the reed's gribbet, a deep, wet sound. You reach the merchant district. It is quieter than usual. Customers are few. A shopkeeper stands under the eaves of his store, looking out at the rain with a faraway expression. He nods to you as you pass. You nod back, tilting your umbrella slightly to acknowledge him. The rain runs off the ribs of your umbrella in streams, splashing onto your getter. Your feet remain dry, perched on their wooden platforms, but you can feel the splash of cold water on your ankles occasionally. You arrive at the castle gates. The stone walls of the castle are dark, almost black, slick with rain. They look impregnable, ancient, rising out of the mist like a cliff face. The moss growing between the massive stones glows with that same electric green vibrancy. The guards are wearing straw rain capes, mino, which makes them look like haystacks with spears. They stand miserable and stoic in the downpour. Water drips from the brims of their lacquered hats. You show your pass, they wave you through. You enter the compound. You leave your umbrella at the entrance rack. You shake it off, whoomp, whoomp, sending a spray of water onto the stones. You collapse it and lean it against the wall among dozens of others. You take off your high wooden clogs. You wipe your feet on a towel provided for the purpose. You step up onto the dry, polished wood of the corridor. The sensation of dry wood underfoot is a relief. The air inside the building is still humid, but it is still and smells of dry paper and ink, a stark contrast to the wet world outside. You walk to your office. The corridors are darker today. The paper screens let in less light. Servants are moving about lighting oil lamps earlier than usual. The flickering yellow light of the lamps reflects on the polished floorboards, creating pools of warmth in the gloom. You hear the sound of the rain on the roof here too, but it is distant, a muffled roar high above the ceiling beams. You arrive at your desk. It feels like a sanctuary. You sit, you arrange your robes, you begin your work. The day stretches out before you, gray and quiet. The rain isolates the office from the rest of the world. There will be no visitors today, no petitions from farmers who are likely huddled in their homes or checking their irrigation channels. It will be a day of paperwork, of reading, of thinking. You grind your ink. The humidity makes the ink stick slightly softer, the grinding sound less gritty, more smooth. The smell of the pine soot mixes with the smell of the rain. You dip your brush, you write. The sound of the rain and the sound of the brush become one rhythm. Drop, stroke, drop, stroke. Later in the afternoon, the rain intensifies. It becomes a deluge. The sound on the roof becomes a roar. The sky darkens to the color of charcoal. You stop writing for a moment and look out into the courtyard. The garden is drowning. The water is overflowing the stone basin. The maple tree is thrashing slightly in the wind. You watch the violence of the weather from the safety of your dry, quiet box. It feels cozy. It feels safe. You feel a deep sense of gratitude for the roof, for the walls, for the tea that is brought to you, steaming and hot. You sip the tea, you watch the rain. You are exactly where you are meant to be. A samurai in the rain, waiting for the sky to clear, but content to wait as long as it takes. The world is wet, but your spirit is dry. The clove oil protects your sword. The roof protects your head. The discipline protects your mind. The room has faded away. The tatami mats, the paper screens, the breathing house, they have all dissolved into a mist that is neither light nor dark. You are floating in the space between wakefulness and deep slumber, a space where time does not move in a straight line, but swirls like smoke in a draft. In this soft, suspended state, your mind begins to unspool a memory. It is not a memory of battle or urgency, but a memory of travel. It is a memory of the road. You are walking. The sensation is vivid. You feel the ground beneath your feet, but it is not the smooth floor of the dojo or the packed earth of the town. It is the soft, yielding soil of a forest path, covered in layers of fallen pine needles that dampen every step. You are younger here, perhaps, or simply timeless. You are traveling the Tokaido, the great sea road that connects the imperial capital to the shogunate in Edo. But you are not in the bustling sections with merchants and palanquins. You are in a quiet stretch, deep in the mountains of Hakone. It is raining. It is a gentle, persistent rain that seems to have been falling for centuries. You can hear it before you see it, a vast, hushed whispering in the canopy of the trees above. Shh, 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 shh. The trees are giant Japanese cedars, cryptomeria, their trunks massive and straight, rising like pillars of a natural cathedral. Their bark is fibrous and reddish-brown, peeling in long vertical strips. The rain turns the bark dark, almost black, and water runs down the grooves in tiny, erratic rivers. You are wearing a mino, a traditional straw raincoat. It is heavy, made of layers of dried grass woven tightly together. It smells of dry hay and wet earth. The rain hits the straw pat, 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 and slides off, keeping you dry underneath. You are wearing a wide-brimmed straw hat, a sugegasa. The rain drums on the hat, a sound that is louder, hollower, from. It is a comforting sound, a personal roof that you carry with you. The brim of the hat acts as a frame for your vision. You can only see the path ahead, the feet of the trees, and the gray curtain of the rain. You walk. Your stride is rhythmic, adjusted to the slope of the hill. You are climbing slowly. The air is cool and incredibly fresh. It is so oxygen-rich, it tastes sweet, like cold water from a mountain spring. Every breath fills your lungs with the scent of whetstone, crushed fern, and the resinous, spicy smell of the cedar needles. Fog drifts between the tree trunks. It is white and ghostly, curling around the roots, obscuring the drop-off into the valley below. You are walking in a cloud. The path is paved with large, irregular stones, laid by hand generations ago. The stones are slick with moss, slippery and treacherous if you are not careful. But you are careful. You place your waraji sandaled foot on the rough center of a stone, finding the friction. You push off. You step to the next stone. Step, plant, push. Step, plant, push. It is a meditation of motion. Your body generates its own heat under the straw coat, a cozy warmth that contrasts with the chill of the mist on your exposed cheeks. You pass a Jizo statue by the side of the road. It is small, carved from gray granite, sitting on a lotus base. Moss has grown over its head like a green hood. A single drop of water hangs from the tip of the statue's nose, trembling, catching the gray light before falling. Plip. You pause for a second just to watch the next drop form. It takes a long time. The water gathers slowly, swelling, fighting gravity, until it becomes too heavy to hold on. Plip. It is the only clock in the forest. You continue. The sound of the rain changes as the forest density shifts. Under the thickest branches, it is a muffled murmur. In the small clearings, it is a soft hiss. You can hear water moving everywhere. It drips from leaves to ferns. It trickles through the moss. It gurgles in hidden runnels beside the path. The whole mountain is drinking. Ahead, through the mist, you see a shape. It is a small roadside tea house, a chaya. It is a humble structure, just a roof of thatched grass supported by wooden posts, open to the air but sheltered from the rain. A lantern hangs from the eaves, unlit during the day, swaying gently in the breeze. You smell smoke, wood smoke, distinct from the damp smell of the forest. It calls to you. You approach the tea house. An old woman is there, tending a small fire in a pit in the center of the earthen floor. She looks up as you step under the shelter of the eaves. The sound of the rain on your hat stops, replaced by the sound of rain on the thatched roof. A softer, muffled thudding. You untie the strings of your hat and take it off, shaking the water from it. A spray of droplets flies out, settling in the dust. You take off your straw cape, hanging it on a peg where it drips steadily. Pata. 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 You sit on a wooden bench covered with a red cloth. The cloth is worn, soft to the touch. The bench is hard, but it takes the weight off your legs. You sigh. It is the sigh of a traveler who has stopped moving for the first time in hours. The old woman does not speak much. She knows the value of quiet. She simply ladles hot water from an iron kettle into a rough ceramic bowl. She whisks a little tea powder into it. She places the bowl before you, along with 2 small mochi cakes grilled over the fire until they are puffed and brown. You wrap your cold hands around the hot bowl. The heat seeps into your fingers, thawing the stiffness. You bring the bowl to your face. The steam warms your eyes. You smell the roasted rice of the mochi and the grassy bitterness of the tea. You drink. It is scalding and revitalizing. You eat the mochi. It is chewy, warm, and simple. You sit there for a long time, watching the rain fall just inches from your feet, beyond the drip line of the roof. You watch the puddles form in the muddy road. You watch the ripples intersect. You are safe here, dry and warm, while the world is wet and cold. There is no urgency to leave. The pass will still be there. Edo will still be there. For now, there is just the rain, the tea, and the smoke drifting up into the thatched roof. Your gaze in the dream drifts to the fire. The charcoal glows orange and red, pulsing with heat. The ash is white and flaky. You watch a piece of wood slowly turn from brown to black to gray to white. It is a slow transformation. The heat makes you sleepy. Your head nods. The scene begins to shift again. The tea house fades. The forest fades. The sound of the rain softens until it becomes the sound of your own blood rushing in your ears. You are sinking deeper now. You are leaving the memory of the road and entering the true depth of sleep. The transition is smooth, like a boat drifting from a river into a vast, calm lake. You are no longer a samurai, you are no longer a traveler, you are simply a consciousness floating in the dark. But it is a textured darkness. It feels like velvet, it feels like deep water. You are weightless. You drift downwards, slowly, spiraling gently. There is no bottom. There is only the comforting sensation of falling without fear. Faint images flicker across your mind, nonsensical and fleeting. A flash of a blue dragonfly wing, the texture of a stone, the sound of a page turning, the taste of a persimmon. They are fragments of the day, fragments of life, dissolving as they touch the surface of your deep sleep. They break apart into light and shadow. Your breathing deepens. It becomes the breathing of the ocean. Slow, rhythmic, powerful. The pause between the inhale and the exhale grows longer. In that pause, there is absolute silence. A silence so profound it feels like a physical space. You rest in that silence. It is a sanctuary. You are aware, on some very distant level, of the futon beneath you again, but it does not feel like a separate object. It feels like an extension of your back. You and the bed and the floor and the house are one continuous substance. The boundaries of your skin have softened. You're expanding to fill the room, filling the corners with your quiet presence. Outside the dream, outside the house, the night watchman walks his patrol. You do not hear him with your ears, but you sense the vibration of his wooden clappers. Clack, clack, pause, clack, clack. Fire watch, all is well. The sound is a tether to the world of men, but it is a loose tether. It does not pull you back. It only confirms that you are safe to drift further away. The night deepens. The moon moves across the sky, its light shifting across the paper screens of your room, changing the shadows from long to short. The temperature drops slightly. You instinctively snuggle deeper into the quilt, seeking the pocket of warmth. Your muscles twitch, once a hypnic jerk, and then relax completely, turning to water. You are now in the citadel of sleep. The gates are closed. The bridges are drawn up. No worries can cross the moat. No duties can scale the walls. You are the lord of this silent castle, and your rule is absolute peace. The ink is dry. The sword is sheathed. The day is done. The darkness is not black anymore. It is a deep, resonant purple, pulsing gently. You are floating on your back in this purple sea. You look up and see not stars, but the soft, glowing faces of your ancestors, smiling, fading in and out. They do not speak. They just watch. They are the guardians of your rest. You let go of the last thread of consciousness. You let go of the concept of you. There is no you anymore. There is only the sleep, sleep, sleep. Deep, restful, healing sleep.